Have you ever realized love only after it slipped away? Just like chances in life and English learning. Too late to hold, too late to fix. Today's story from Denmark may hit the deepest corner of your heart. Have you ever noticed how regret always shows up late to the party? It never arrives when you could actually fix things. No, regret waits until you're brushing your teeth at midnight, staring at the mirror, suddenly remembering that moment when you didn't say, "I love you," or that one evening you chose your phone instead of listening to the person beside you. And here's the cruel twist: your brain loves reruns. It replays those missed chances like an old Danish film you didn't even buy a ticket for. In Denmark, life often feels calm on the outside. Quiet streets, bikes gliding past, families gathered at dinner tables. But even in the coziest homes, silence can grow heavy. You can sit across from someone you love and still feel miles apart. That's the tragedy no one posts on Instagram. The gap between two people who forgot how to see each other. And let's be honest, you've probably felt a similar gap in learning English. You told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow. I'll practice speaking next week." Then suddenly months flew by, and the words you needed never came. Regret entered again, too late, whispering, "You could have been better by now." This story is about a Danish husband who realized love only when it was gone. It's simple, emotional, and yes, it might sting. But through his journey, you'll not only practice English slowly and clearly, you'll also face your own choices. Because the truth is, whether in love or language, the question always returns: do you really see what you have before it's too late? Life in Denmark. Picture Denmark on a calm autumn morning. The streets are clean, the air is sharp, and bicycles glide past like clockwork. People here live what many outsiders call the simple life. Families gather for dinner at 5, candles flicker on the table. And there's always time for a warm cup of coffee. On the surface, it looks like a picture-perfect postcard. But here's the secret: even in the most peaceful places, hearts can feel heavy. There was a small town near Aarhus, where a husband and wife shared a modest apartment. To their neighbors, they looked like the definition of stability: steady jobs, polite smiles, Sunday walks to the bakery. But routine has a sharp edge. When every day looks the same, love can slip into the background, hidden under grocery lists and unanswered texts. The husband, let's call him Eric, woke up early every morning to catch the train. He thought he was doing the right thing, working hard, providing for the future. His wife, Anna, stayed behind, making their home warm and steady. But the silence between them grew louder than the ticking clock on the kitchen wall. Here's the thing: your brain loves patterns. It feels safe when life is predictable. Yet safety can feel like a cage if we forget to nurture what matters. Just like when you repeat English words without emotion: safe, predictable, but empty. You know them, but they don't live in your heart. Denmark teaches us that beauty can hide loneliness. That's the paradox. You can walk through the happiest country in the world and still carry sadness in your chest. And Eric was about to discover that the comfort of routine could also be the slow death of love. Husband's routine. Eric's days looked like copy-paste. Wake up at 6, quick shower, black coffee, run for the train. At the office, endless emails, polite handshakes, meetings where people nodded more than they listened. He came home late, exhausted. Convinced he was being responsible. You know that script, work first, love later. But later has a sneaky way of never arriving. To Eric, the routine felt noble. He believed providing for Anna was enough proof of love. He thought flowers were optional, conversations could wait. And presence was just physical, sitting at the same table but scrolling different screens. The truth? He was there, but he wasn't really there. Psychologists call this functional autopilot. Your brain saves energy by repeating familiar behaviors. Drive, work, sleep, repeat. It feels safe, but it also blinds you to emotional details. Like when you read English words without pausing to hear their melody. You know them, but you don't feel them. Anna noticed. She noticed the rushed kisses, the half-smiles, the dinners eaten in silence. But Eric? He told himself, she understands. She knows I love her. That's the trap, believing love is obvious without ever saying it. It's like assuming people will guess your thoughts without words. Try that in English. Stay silent and hope others understand you. Spoiler alert, they won't. Denmark's calm streets mirrored their calm house. But beneath that calm was distance growing like frost on a window, thin at first, then impossible to ignore. And Eric? He didn't see it yet. Because when you run on autopilot, you mistake movement for progress. His routine was steady, yes. But steady can also mean stuck. And soon, life would throw him a reminder. If you don't wake up, love will. Wife's silence. Anna was not loud. She never threw plates, never screamed, never wrote angry letters. Instead, she did something more dangerous. She grew quiet. Silence, after all, is not the absence of words. It is a language of its own. In their little Danish apartment, Anna still cooked dinner. She still asked about Eric's day. But her eyes no longer waited for an answer. She smiled politely, like a stranger at a cafe. Her laughter, once quick and warm, became rare, like an old song played only in memory. And Eric? He thought silence meant peace. But silence often means distance. Psychologists say that silence in relationships can act like ice. At first, it's just a thin layer, barely there. But if the cold continues, it spreads, it thickens. Until the ice is impossible to break without shattering something beneath. Anna's heart was becoming that frozen lake that you've probably felt something similar when studying English. Maybe you stopped speaking because you feared mistakes. You thought, better to say nothing than to sound stupid. And just like that, your silence became a wall. You weren't protecting yourself. You were isolating yourself. Anna wasn't trying to punish Eric. She was simply tired of shouting without sound, of being unseen. Silence became easier than hoping. That's the cruel irony. Sometimes the loudest cry for help is the absence of any cry at all. In Denmark, people value calm, balance, hygge, the cozy comfort of togetherness. But cozy can't survive without connection. Anna still sat across from Eric, but inside, she was already walking away. And Eric, lost in his routine, didn't notice the footsteps fading. Silence is rarely empty. It is full of everything we refuse to say. Turning point. One rainy evening in Aarhus, the turning point arrived, not with a fight, but with something small. Eric came home late, again. The dinner on the table was cold. Anna was sitting by the window, her hands around a cup of tea that had already lost its warmth. She didn't look at him. She didn't ask how his day was. She simply said, "The food is there," and returned to staring outside. It was the first time Eric felt a crack. That simple sentence carried more distance than 1,000 angry words. He looked at her face and saw something unfamiliar: indifference. Not fire, not anger, but absence. And absence is far more frightening. Science has a word for this moment: emotional disconnection. The human brain is wired to seek cues, eye contact, tone, touch, that signal love and safety. When those vanish, the brain reads it as danger. Eric's nervous system finally woke up, sending alarms he had ignored for years. It's a lot like learning English. Imagine repeating words without ever listening to the emotion behind them. One day, someone asks you a simple question, and you freeze. Not because you don't know the words, but because you never connected them to feeling. That sudden realization, that gap, hits harder than any grammar rule. For Eric, the gap was undeniable. Anna's silence was no longer comfortable. It was final. That night, he ate alone at the table, and for the first time in years, he tasted the loneliness his wife had carried. It was bitter, and it stayed. The turning point of every story is not always loud. Sometimes, it's just the moment you finally see what was in front of you all along. Regret arrives. Regret never knocks politely. It barges in, uninvited, and rearranges everything. For Eric, it began the morning after that silent dinner. He watched Anna place her coffee cup in the sink without a word. She didn't kiss his cheek. She didn't even look up. And suddenly, the kitchen felt colder than the Danish winter outside. He tried to fix it the easy way, buying flowers, planning a weekend trip, saying, "I love you," too quickly, as if words alone could patch years of absence. But Anna's eyes told him the truth. Love is not a switch you flip when you remember it exists. It's a flame you feed daily, or it flickers out. Psychologists describe this as the point of no return. Relationships don't usually explode, they erode. By the time regret arrives, the damage is layered, like pages in a book already written. You can't rewrite the first chapters just because you dislike the ending. Think about your English practice. Have you ever told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow"? Then weeks pass, and when you finally try, your tongue feels heavy, your confidence gone. You regret not practicing sooner, but regret cannot return lost time. Just like Eric, you realize effort delayed is often effort wasted. He sat at his office desk that day, staring at numbers he no longer cared about. For the first time, he admitted it. He had traded presence for productivity, love for routine. And the cost was higher than any paycheck. Regret is cruel, yes. But it is also honest. It tells you, with no sugarcoating, what you should have done when you had the chance. Eric learned this truth too late, but maybe you don't have to. Reflection for learners. Let's pause Eric's story for a moment, because this isn't just about love. It's also about you, sitting here, trying to learn English. Regret is not only a visitor in marriage, it loves to visit students, too. Think back. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll practice speaking tomorrow," or "I'll start listening more when I have free time"? Weeks slide into months, and suddenly, you avoid conversations because the words feel stuck. And then regret whispers, "If only you had started earlier." Sound familiar? The brain works like a muscle. Ignore it, and it weakens. Train it, and it grows. Eric's regret came from ignoring his wife's emotional needs. Learners' regret comes from ignoring daily practice. Both are caused by the same illusion, that tomorrow will always be waiting. But here's the truth, tomorrow is a thief. It steals today's chances and dresses them up as future promises. Imagine if you practice just 5 minutes of slow speaking every day. Not perfect grammar, not fancy words, just 5 minutes of being present with the language. That's how love works, too. Small, consistent acts matter more than grand gestures given too late. Here's a tip backed by psychology. The brain remembers stories better than rules. That's why you're here, listening to Eric and Anna. You're not just learning English, you're feeling it. And when you feel words, they stick. When you only memorize, they fade. So ask yourself, are you loving your English like Eric loved his wife, by assuming it will always wait for you? Or are you showing up daily, even in small ways? Regret waits quietly for your answer. Closing message. So here we are, at the end of Eric's story, and maybe at the beginning of yours. Regret is the echo of things left unsaid, lessons left unlearned, and chances left untouched. Eric can't rewrite his past, but you can still shape your future. If there's one thing to take away today, let it be this: love, like learning, cannot survive on waiting. It thrives on small, daily actions. A gentle word, a few minutes of practice, a willingness to show up even when you're tired. That's how we avoid the sharp ache of too late. Think about it. What if you decided, right now, to give English 5 honest minutes each day? In a year, you'd have over 30 hours of practice, without pressure, without perfectionism. That's how fluency grows, not through giant leaps, but through faithful steps. And in life, what if you whispered love before silence made it impossible? What if you forgave before the graveyard became the only place left to speak? These questions aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. I'll leave you with this challenge. Tonight, choose one thing you don't want to regret tomorrow. Speak it, write it, practice it. Act before it's too late, because regret is heavy, but responsibility is light when carried daily. This is not just an English lesson. It's a reminder that language is life, and both are slipping through your fingers every second. Don't just exist. Live. Don't just learn. Speak. Don't just love. Show it, and if today's story touched you, stay with this channel. More stories, more lessons, more reminders are waiting. Together, we'll keep walking, without regret. This story isn't only about love or regret, it's about you. Don't wait for too late. Take one step today in learning, loving, and living. Stay with us for more stories that change hearts.